It's an interesting number. It's not quite as sexy as 100, but it does have its kind of things. Like we really should have Dalmatians here for a start. Like that's
Room 101. It's
Room 101. That's the other thing. Yeah,
it was the good show, but like you know where their name comes from because it's where you just
1984. It's where you meet your worst fear or your worst horror. Isn't he actually has a cage?
Is that where it comes from? I thought it came from like it's always the storage room in like a hotel and stuff.
No, well, it's in. Maybe that's where it does come from, but it's in 1984, and it's the final room that you where you have to, when the cabin broken you and you face your worst fear, and your man John Hurt in the film, I don't know what his name is in the book. He's probably one of those things where they don't actually tell you his name, but he has a cage with a rat in it to his face because he's terrified of rats, and then they open the cage and the rat's at his face. But I think it's more it's that kind of notion of that, the fear is probably worse than what the actual thing is, so that Room 101, the thing where you have to face the thing.
A rat eating your face is pretty bad, man. Actually, that line came up last night. I was watching this Western I was telling you about yesterday. I wrote it. It's called 1881. It's called 1883. Sam Elliott's in it. Fucking love Sam Elliott, man. He's just a cool motherfucker. And he's this former who were the goodies in the Civil War in America? The Union. Unionists are goodies. It's kind of weird to say that
that's why
come out of my mouth.
Trip up in it.
So he was like a captain in that, but now he brings people on the Oregon Trail. So he's bringing these German and Eastern European people across it, and the line came up. Thoughts totally gone out of my head now. What were you saying?
Room 101?
No, after that.
Your worst fear?
Yeah. He said...
Well done, Spud's brain.
So yeah, well done, Spud's brain. Jesus, we're getting off to a great start here. He...
How do you pronounce Spud?
The U is for you. That was a line I used to use. I used to get a good laugh. The other one was, I think I told you that I said it to Aga one night. I was like, I would suck the... What was it? I would... No, I'm sad because you're yeah.
Oh, man.
Probably can't keep
I'm 100% convinced you're bisexual. There's just no question that you're not. Just go and do it, will you? Go and have a boyfriend. Enjoy that 2 weeks in Paris, and discover who you really are, will you? Please.
So anyway, Sam Elliott has these nightmares about the war, and he just wakes up and he's sweating. He's and he has this Thomas is his right hand man, and he was he had been a slave, and. Elliot says exactly what you were saying there. Like it's the fear of the fear is worse than what happens. And Thomas is like,
no,
you've never been whipped.
Yeah,
So
isn't that's ultimately what anxiety is, isn't it? It's worrying about worrying. So
of course,
it's that thing. So but. And that's why I suppose in films when they're trying to be quite smart, the really bad thing will happen off screen, so you don't see it because your mind will make it way worse than they ever could.
Also, budgeting reasons. It's like in Game of Thrones, they didn't do. In the first season, there's meant to be this huge battle, and they didn't really shoot it because they had the money, but they did it really smartly. They had a couple of characters who were watching the fight and off
like a football commentary. Oh, he's up. He has the ball. He has the Orcs head. There's no head.
Listen to football on the radio. It's like, why do you do that to yourself? Why? Yeah. Just watch it. Just watch it. If you can't watch it, don't put yourself through the pain because it's
the best.
Listening to a match is hard.
Budgeting thing I've ever seen is the original Lord of the Rings cartoon, where just ran out of money in the middle of a battle, and the narrator comes back on and goes, and here ends the story of the Lord of the Rings. Does it fuck, actually?
The Beatles did finance that, didn't they?
I think George Harrison's his company did the Monty Python stuff. What are they called? I can't remember. Accidental.
Yeah. All right. And then it was John Lennon who told your man to give the money to Jodorowsky, wasn't it?
Yeah, George Harrison was going to be the guy in the Holy Mountain.
Oh, yeah, except for the
he wouldn't do the bit with his arse. He says, I'll get my penis out. There's no problem. I'll do all that other weird stuff, but you're not washing my arse. Jodorowsky says he lost millions over that, and he says his film could have probably been what he wanted it to be, which was the thing that awakens humanity. You know, he doesn't hold back in what he plans to do with the world. So he regrets it, but he says it was his pride at the time, thinking he was. And he says, in one way though, I suppose, like, he was right, because he was fulfilling what he thought. You know, at the time, that's who he was. Well, in the commentary, it's brilliant. If you ever watch it, well, you can't actually. It's in French, I assume. He speaks French now, doesn't he, rather than Spanish?
French and Spanish, yeah.
So it's one of those European languages. So you have to listen to the commentary translation of it. So it's just like text up in it. But every single thing in the Holy Mountain, he knows exactly what it is. There's no kind of stuff for the crack. Oh, this will be weird. This whatever. Even down to, like, the frogs and the and that kind of that, like, and all that represents. That's America and America now, and it's like, oh man, yeah. But he knew exactly what he was at. So I understand at that point that the washing of the bum is very, but to him, when you're that, everything matters.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But
God, man, if there was a cult or if there was a cult of the Psychomagia school, I'd be front and center, man. I'll tell you one thing, it's like, you see all these gurus and teachers and all that around, and you're tempted by a few of them and all this, and then you're like, I don't like this thing, you don't like that thing. But if there was the Jodorowsky school, man, yeah, I would gladly.
Do you think you would do the thing he asked you to do? Like what? Like it's a bit Room 101, isn't it? It's like it's going to possibly be the thing that you don't want to do the most. Go to the top of.
You mean if he came up with a ritual to do? Yeah, of course I would. It's Jodorowsky. Of course of course I'd do it. He'd probably just be like, yeah, man, go do your bisexual weekend in Paris.
I'm hoping for the one where I just have to go and water a tree every day. That would be, I understand this. It's touching me deeply.
Wouldn't be too bad. Yeah, it wouldn't be though. It'd be parental stuff with me though, so it'd be a pain in the arse. Well, I mean, it'd be everyone's stuff is parental anyway, isn't it? It all kind of comes back to it mostly, unless it's PTSD, which is from a war situation or something. That's different. Yeah,
but I mean, your non super traumatic trauma is definitely parental stuff. Or family core stuff. It's can't.
Let's just blame the parents. Let's just stick with them. It's all their fault, and it'll be our fault too with our young lads.
Yeah. It's certainly not my fault. I had nothing to say in it, or any kind of responsibility for any of it.
Look, I didn't really raise you at all. I was here. I kept an eye on you. That's it. I couldn't have fucked up. I couldn't have, because I was barely involved.
Yeah. It's all your mother's fault. She was there the whole time. So yeah. So anyway, just before, the last 101 thing is the isn't it in America where it's the introductory class? It's the 101 class.
That's right. Yeah.
So I was trying to think of other things that are 101. I get 3, and you stole one of them from me. So that's
sorry.
Well, I mean, like, that's what happens when you don't prepare or discuss with the other person what you're going to do.
What you're going to talk about ever?
Quick, Geometria 101. It probably means MAGA. It usually does when we look up stuff. Anyway, so dark MAGA.
Trump will win. Mm-hmm. So I've been reading this. The Secret Cypher Ufonauts. Been having a great time with it, because it's the double volume one.
Explain to people what it is for people who don't know, because we're
Secret Cypher of the Ufonauts is by Alan Greenfield, and if you watched Hellier, why do I keep moving the laptop? If you watched Hellier, they do one episode with him where it's more or less a full interview with him.
Yeah, it's the man with the clock behind him, which we loved.
Yeah. Which I heard on a podcast interview with him, and he said that he didn't know that the clock was there, but I'm like, no. Don't do that. Yes, you did. You knew and you planned it because you're paranoid and about the government and but he's actually not paranoid about the government at all. He once I discovered, he followed the trail of other people that there was a cipher in the Book of the Law.
All right, yeah.
Crowley's Book of the Law. So like he didn't discover it, but there were other people over since the Book of the Law came out. Crowley thought there was a cipher in it as well, and there's a line in it that says the beast won't figure it out, basically, or something like that. So the beast, being Crowley, he won't figure out the cipher. But other people over the years have tackled it, and it seems that Greenfield got all the jigsaw pieces together, you know. And what's that website? You can look up stuff. Let me get it here. I do have a bookmark somewhere. naequery.com. Oh. So you can just go there, type in words like, I don't know, Spud Murphy.
So it's like a geometric calculator website.
Yeah.
Type thing, yeah.
So Spud Murphy gives you value of 149, and then it gives you a list of the Class A holy books of Thelema and what that corresponds to.
We have since found out.
Thelema.
Rhymes with dilemma.
Is there anything interesting here for my name? A Caress of Hell's Own. Okay, yeah, I like that. I'll go with that. Okay.
2 weeks in Paris. That's what we're calling this episode. That's exactly what we're calling this episode. Spud's 2 weeks in Paris.
Thou shalt find is there. To die nor to love me is... No, there's no really fun sentences.
Put in my name. Oh, do it. Show me the secrets.
Okay. Tommy Kelly says, there's a couple here. Cometh after conquest thus every star I am, the mountain, the servants of... Oh, I like that.
Oh, that's interesting.
That fits. Harcourt. Force and fire. Yeah, yours is far better than mine.
Well, I mean, that's standard, isn't it?
Standard, yeah, I suppose, yeah. Yeah. So I was reading this, and do you remember in Hellier, they referenced the interview with Terry R. Wrist. That's in the first half of the book, but in the second half of the book, which is the kind of sequel to it, which is
right, because in Hellier they talk about the thing being at the end of the book.
Yeah. So there's a newer version of the book, which is 2 books put together, and there's another interview with Terry Wrist, and he talks about how to kind of defeat these baddies, because they both come from this school that you're not going full screen. They're both come from this kind of Patrick Harper belief that aliens, fairies, angels, they're all this one thing that manifests differently depending on either how our preconceptions work or the message they want to deliver.
Oh, right, okay.
You know?
And I suppose where society's at the time too.
Yeah. So, So, but he ends the interview with a good quote. And he says, "They drink our fear like hungry ghosts. To drink instead our love is death unto them and their kin." So it ties back. Remember what Duncan was saying with the Randy Nunn.
Oh, yeah.
You know, just meet these things with love, because that's what they don't. If they seem to be not wanting your best interests, they don't like that. So, you know, just open hand. Buddha was that thing as well, you know. Yeah.
Stuart Wilde said the same about aliens to turn up, that there's 2 ways. He did a number of ways. He got very obsessed with the greys kept turning up. He was taking a lot of drugs, so there could have been some sort of influence now. Allegedly taking drugs.
He's dead.
Well, I'm sure his son...
No. Dead people, you can say whatever you want. No.
Literally, you can say whatever you want about dead people.
You can say whatever you want about dead people, because they're dead. They can't sue you.
Right, nice. But you see, to send love, they really don't like that, to run away. His other one was to run after him with a katana down the corridor. So I would send love, because I don't personally have a sword beside my bed. But he used to do things where he put that thing of if you put a video camera on it, you know, it's unlikely that anything's going to happen because they want to be shown. Which, you know, Nuke's top 5 has showed us that mightn't be the case. They might actually like being filmed if that YouTube channel is anything to go by. But he also, like, you know, the 8-volt battery, and you put a copper wire around your bed, that seems to create an atmosphere around it. Not sure I'd do that. That seems a bit fire hazardy, maybe.
Yeah. I don't think your insurance company would pay out.
Yes, why did the bed go on fire? Well, you see, it started, there was a light first come into the room, right? And over the course of a number of nights, then these greys used to come in. And I was just paralysed lying there. One time I was floating above. Copper wire and an 8-volt battery. Yeah, don't try that at home, folks.
Yeah, don't do that. You know, you're not supposed to leave on like your washing machine, your dishwasher, anything like that when you leave the house, because then your insurance company won't pay out if anything happens.
Didn't they never pay out? Because who's doing that? But how did I know? Anyway, it's the same as if you have
what's it called? Fire scene investigation, I presume.
It's the same. I've been told. I don't know if this is true, but that if you have a house alarm, don't tell your insurance company that you have a house alarm, because they won't pay out if you forgot to arm it or it didn't work. Whereas they will if you just never told them you had one in the first place.
Really?
So I was told, someone got caught by that. It was actually a tutor of one I was doing. Remember that mad FOSS course I was doing about 10 years ago? It was her, she had just got caught with that someone had broke in and then didn't pay out because they hadn't set the alarm and had told them they had an alarm.
Lovely.
How did we get to aliens? To people breaking into your house. That's how we got from aliens.
No idea.
Anyway,
it's good though. Look, it's worth to read. There's a lot in there about like the secret chiefs and the inner circle and the Mahatmas and all that kind of stuff and how they all seem to be kind of. Look, I was going into it. I wasn't convinced about this at all. Like, this Cypher thing, but I'd be far more convinced of it now because he's able to present a lot of proof, I suppose.
I assume the proof is more than just UPG, where it's like, well, I had this vision, or is it it's based on the Cypher alone?
Yeah, no. So what he'll do is he'll take a bunch of people who have had, say, similar visitation experiences or trance experiences, and we'll take like it's a bit like what we've done with our rituals. When you take the words that mean something to you. And then, so he'll take all of these kind of important words or names from past experiences of different people, and he put them through the Cypher, and then comes up with other things that show other kind of connections. You get me?
Right, yeah. So the ripples lead somewhere rather than just a number.
Yeah.
Yeah, works for me. Even if it's not true, if it's
well, that's the thing. That's the thing. Like I'm reading it, just going, look, I don't know if it is true, but I fucking definitely want it to be true. You know.
well, even if that, like, I mean, it's because I've been considering an awful lot recently. Just because I don't like the idea, something doesn't mean it's not true. Which conversely, just because I like the idea, doesn't make it true. You know.
Of course,
but I think, is it useful? Is a more useful way of looking, like, and it seems to be useful. So you know. Yeah.
And plus, like, it makes this good argument in it that, like, you know, there's kind of precedence for this because it's like. Goes back and looks at old holy books and then some Kabbalah stuff and then the Enochian stuff of D and Kelly comes up, and it's like these are all ciphers as well, but over the years they change. So his thing, you know, he says that like the one bad thing about kind of the cipher of the Book of the Law become more well known is that this means there'll have to be another cipher. Or it means that this one is changing. Well, he says that this one is changing constantly.
Right.
So it means that there's going to be some other one. You know?
Right. Is it open source? Like that has calculations, whatever it is, has he revealed that? Or
well, no, it's not just him. It's so there's this NAQquery.com. There's another one called Lexicom or Lexicrom. Okay. And you can look that up as well. And it's
has anyone access to how he worked out the cipher, or is he?
Oh yeah, he tells you all that. Yeah. Okay. No, but it's not that he works it out. It's that he just put all the other bits together of other people's work.
Oh right, okay, yeah, okay.
You know,
cool. That sounds good. Yeah, it's on my book list, and
Hey, look, you fly through it. I read it over 2 or 3 nights. Like, it's only 150 pages. The second book is mostly essays, so you'll fly through that. You know. It's he
posts stuff. An awful lot on Twitter though. I think an awful lot of stuff.
Does he?
Yeah, just like lots of links and blog posts and stuff.
But I presume like his fame has increased since Hellier.
Oh, seems well. When I was rewatching Hellier, the views aren't massive on it. At least not on YouTube anyway.
No,
compared to what like it's still. Some of them are in around 3,000 and stuff like that. Like, or maybe I'm wrong, but on the exact number. But I remember thinking, that's a lot lower than I thought. And now I know there are on Amazon Prime and there's DVDs and Blu-rays and all that. But hey, you know, it could be one of those things that we think Hellier was huge, and it's not really. You know, it's just kind of everyone we know have seen it, but like you know. Has my mum seen it?
I don't know. Oh, you don't like Mogwai? What you don't? What? You've never heard My Bloody Valentine? Never.
Or like, yeah.
What? How are we on this planet?
Yeah.
You know?
It's so strange, isn't it? Like it shows the bubble thing. I've to counter your book report. I'll have a book report. Anthony Peake's The Diamon or Demon, whatever you want to pronounce it. I'd say you'll quite like this because it kind of builds on a lot of the Ian Gilchrist stuff of the right brain, left brain stuff.
All right.
Or his kind of assertion is that it's more than this, but it's the right brain, left brain thing where you are the right brain and the demon is the left brain. You know, it's that kind of kind of the union is when you finally go between the two things, whatever. Makes very good case for it, and you go, right, I understand where you come from and all that, and that would seem right. You know, it kind of fits in where, that's the way, you know, inspiration, that seems to be the way that, you know, your other half of your brain works. But he would go into that. He seems to have there's two distinct personalities, and he goes through all of those, you know, the split brain experiments that were done that are so interesting, you know, and he adds a few that I hadn't heard before, and it's really interesting. So you go, right, fair enough, that's a good kind of theory, and, you know, take it or leave it, whatever. You know, you could definitely have a working system from that, you know, it's just trying to get the two sides of your brain to talk to each other, or you know, in some way have a union with it, whatever. But
does he give you any like exercise to do to try and?
Well, I've about an hour left in it, so I assume there's some sort of end bit, but maybe not. Sometimes you're looking for and how do I do this? And
it
goes, you know, join my 6-week course. I've nothing against 6 weeks courses, just don't make it contingent on having to understand your book.
What's the documentary we did, the bald American UFO guy,
Stephen Greer.
Stephen Greer. It's like, he's like, I have proof. I was in a lab where they grew a hand. Okay, can you show us? No.
No. They can fix spinal injuries, you know. Can they? Yeah, prove it. No. Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
So anyway, so he says what's happening. So he's big into Deja Vu. What's that about? So he's looking at that kind of stuff. And what his kind of thing is that when you die, there is, you know, the past, or your life shines in front of you. That whole thing. What's that? The life experience, the rerun. There's a name for it though. I can't remember. Whatever it's called. So he's saying that that's what we're actually going through.
You watched too much daytime television. You wasted your life.
So it says that when you die, that you start from the beginning again and run through your life entirely. It's the past life, previous life review, whatever it is. So he's saying that if you've ever experienced deja vu, or you've something that because 40% of people haven't ever experienced that.
What?
According to this book. According to some poll he did with 6 people. I don't know, but that's the figure in it. He says 40%. So he says that 40% of people are on their actual life, the first life. And the 60% of people are reliving their life from this review. You're dead, and you're reliving it back. Dead. So it kind of goes, how did your holy guardian angel or your demon or whatever it is knows this? Because it's already lived this life. And so the deja vu is when you kind of realize, or there's a function of that you have. So, but you kind of go, it mightn't just happen once. This could be the 75th time, because you're trying to work this out. And until you work it out, you don't get to move on.
Oh, so it's Groundhog Day.
Yeah, Groundhog. So it's kind of not that you're living the same life again, because you only live that once, but that you're reliving that life mentally again as you're dying. So you're still somewhere at the end of this life, dying, having this experience.
Oh, so this could be like our 75th time trying to learn from the life we messed up.
Yeah.
God, some people must be really dumb.
I would say me. 458 life, really, Tommie, really, yeah.
You haven't learned.
Yeah,
you haven't learned.
You know,
haven't learned.
Spud 600 life, yeah. It's still not in Paris, no. Still not in Paris. So I like it.
I've only been to Paris once. So
I was in Paris once too. So I like the idea, but it falls apart if you look to, as most of these things do. Like how, if 40% of the people are on the first life and 6% aren't, how am I interacting with them if I'm already dead? How does that work out?
Yeah.
Is Spud the dead person having the experience, or is it Tommie the dead person having the experience? Because we both can't be having the same experience, unless we can, and but like, you can't be in my brain reliving a life that I had. Right?
Wait. Where's my bong?
Man, you can't be in my brain, man. But I really like it. It's one of those things that you kind of go, you can glean a lot from it. You can go, all right, I understand that explains some things, that would make sense of this kind of stuff. I like the right brain, left brain stuff.
Have you? I'm pointing at you.
Yeah.
I used to have I used to get deja vu a lot, but ever since all this woo stuff with you, I don't have them anymore.
Maybe this is you've never been down this path before. Maybe you've never got here. So
I do still get deja vu?
The last time I got deja vu, I do get every now and again, but I can't remember. Like the last time I tried to experiment with the marijuana, what happens? I immediately think I'm in a state of deja vu instantly, and it's horrible because it's not just kind of this is like. It's like for extended period, like it can go on for an hour, the whole thing, and it's horrible. So
you're like Paul Stamets with that hilarious
but it's not looking
at the keys.
Yeah, it's a camera, isn't it? He's gone. Did we get the camera? Yeah. Did we take the camera? But it's the reason why it just doesn't suit me. It's that thing. It's probably something I need to battle through. But like it was meant to be for recreation, so I don't want to battle through in my recreation. It's like getting a computer game. I want to feel great. I don't want to feel like I'm a loser where everyone beats me. I want to be, that's the whole point of it.
That's the thing. Weed nowadays is too fucking strong. Fuck.
Yeah.
Oh.
But so one time I remember it happened. It's like I 3 or 4 times in the last couple of years that just trying it. But it was like, right, if you have done this before and your brain, come on, let's start predicting things. What's the next YouTube video? And I can't. It couldn't do it. It just couldn't. So it was like, all right, you're saying, so it's just the familiarity of it. So what I assume is what's happening is my brain goes like a second behind. Mm-hmm. So it's immediately everything is.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Yeah. How many times have we been in a room full of people on ecstasy and suddenly they'll say, did I say that out loud?
Yeah.
Did you say what out loud? Nothing? Oh, come on.
Or that classic one of
but that's the opposite. That's because your brain works so fast.
Yeah, that would be that. Yeah, I assume. Or the one where someone answers a question from a conversation that was half an hour ago. As that type of stuff, because they've been there the whole time. This is the camera. This is not the camera. Drugs are weird, aren't they?
They don't tell you this in school. They're always drugs are bad. Don't take drugs. What they should say is drugs are great, but they'll fuck you up.
Yeah,
well, it would have been a far better lesson.
Yeah. It's a pity because it's like I'd say in the next couple of years I'd say everywhere's just going to decriminalise weed, whatever. It's going to be a thing, and it's like Germany started doing it now. I think
Germany, well, if Germany do it, I'd say Poland won't be too long after, because they'll just say how much fucking money they make from it.
Yeah, and then that'll be good because then you know what you're getting, and and you can go, well, not the stuff that makes me feel like everything's happened before for an hour. Oh, the confusion! It's like, can I have some fun with this, please, rather than it being a challenge?
Have you got a Pink Floyd blend? Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
I want to watch Pink Floyd. I want to listen to Pink Floyd, and I watch some fractal fucking videos on YouTube. That's what I'm after.
Those repeating videos I could just look at for ages. Wow.
I don't want visions of my great granddad who beat me, and sorting that shit out in my head. No. Come on, give me the Friday night stuff. I don't want the Monday morning stuff.
Yeah. Give me my life back. So it's good. Yeah, I'm enjoying it, and he's an interesting kind of guy. Andy Peake. He has a load of videos, load of lectures, and he's a couple of books. He's big into the life after death kind of stuff and multiple worlds. And I think his latest book is he's gone into simulation theory and what that means. But he's quite open when he talks about it. He says, "This is my theory. It may pan out to be nothing, but I'm just going, So I think that's cool. That's fair enough. He says this is where I'm at with it at the minute, and. But the left brain, right brain stuff is good. Ian McGilchrist has a new book out. It's a double book.
2 volumes or something.
£90.
Fucking hell.
And the Kindle version's like 50 quid or something. No Kindle version should be 50 quid.
Nothing for Kindle.
I assume that price is it's going for academic paper level, because you see that sometimes like that. Oh, I don't know, a terrible name to pull out of the hat right at the minute, but Jordan Peterson's first book was about 60 quid, but it was an academic book. You know what I mean? Like, it was powered, you had to buy it for his course and all of this kind of stuff. So I assume that it's still following that. That said, the Grammar of 47 is about 50 quid. So, we might talk. Well, that's because it costs so much to print it. I'm certainly not getting 50 quid. But a black and white book of just text is not costing 60 quid to print. It's just not. It's whatever it is, 12 quid on Amazon.
But he's not, from what I know, McGilchrist isn't exactly loved in academia. Some people go with it, and then a lot of people are really against it.
Well, it's more that
and not against the left brain, right brain thing, but about
his view on it.
Yeah.
I think it's just it's not the from that documentary watch. They're saying either this is the most life changing thing in science or it's rubbish. You know, we can't decide yet. You know,
There's no middle ground with it. Like, no, I hope he's right. You know?
Yes, you should check out Anthony Peake. He's pretty good. We said we were going to teach people Irish, which I thought was a fascinating thing to do, considering that we can't speak Irish. But, you know, what has that ever stopped us from doing anything? So we'll start with, which I think is a good way to start, it's how to say hello in Irish. And there's two ways you can say it. See, when you're taught Irish, it depends on what part of the country your Irish teacher is from. And it's more than just an accent as well. The regional thing is there is a pronunciation difference rather than just an accent thing. I assume it's a similar thing, but to say hello in Irish is dia ditch or dia rich, which is how I would have learned it. I think you were saying that's
dia gwit, I'd say. So it sounds like
there's kind of like there's a GW kind of thing put in
that's
it.
the way I was taught.
But if you go onto YouTube or whatever, and there's Irish people will say it's the ditch, as in, you know, like a ditch, a hedge, the thing on the side of the road.
So it means, literally translates as God with you.
God with you, yeah. And the response is Gias Murgach, which is God and Mary is with you. So I wonder what they said before the
You
AD
just took
BC
the words
crossover.
right out of my mouth, man. I was just going, what did they say before Christianity?
Well, the first bit you could probably still be God with you, right? Fair enough. Do you mean the moon god? Yeah, of course, the moon god. Yeah, and then the solar god after that turned out very weird. No, the solar god, then the moon god. That's the way it was. Not that said of started as the solar went to the moon. But the Mary thing is that seems pushed in. That seems later. Yeah, but so yeah, it's DIA, which is God. And Gitch is DHUIT or ditch. And Mura, how are we saying it? MUIRE. I would have said there was a H in that, but there's no H in that.
Yeah, there's a funny thing with her name as well, because Mary in Irish is Moira, but because she's a special Mary, she has a different name. She's
is that
Mura.
what it is?
Yeah.
Right. So there you go. That's how you say hello. Gigach. Gias Murgach. And our fact about Ireland, which is not going to be...
Look at this fella all prepared, huh?
I know, I'm trying my best. This is the thing you fear the most. This is room 101. There was a civilization in Ireland from 12,000 BC. There's evidence of human presence in Ireland dated 12,000 BC. This was proven by a bear bone, I'll have you know, that was found in a cave. The bear bone had clear cut marks from stone tools. It was discovered in 1903, but was re-examined in 2010 using better technology. That's a very insulting thing to do, isn't it? No, we understand what you think in 1903, use peasants, but we've computers now. The bare bone proves that Ireland wasn't already inhabited by humans during the Paleolithic era. So we're old, man. We're about a while. That's facts about Ireland. Spud's facts about Ireland, I'm assuming, will be slightly more political.
I don't have any.
No, I don't mean today. I mean for future. There's one fact a week and one Irish thing a week.
I'll have one ready then next week.
Yeah, so you'll to do the... I suppose next week we should say how to say goodbye. I mean, that's... Whatever. Let's not spoil it, though. It could be something really weird. How to say anti-disestablishmentarianism in Irish Gaelic. Yeah. Anti-disestablishmentarianism. That's how you say it. Or O at the end of it. So recently on the old Discord, Adventures in Woo Woo Discord, we were talking a bit about offerings. And being that we also said that we were going to do kind of a 101 type thing, or a look at the various different fundamental things of magic or mystical tradition, whatever it is. What are we calling this? What are we doing? What is this thing we do?
Woo.
Then I thought, why not start with that? Is offerings actually on your original list? Probably isn't, though, is it?
Oh God, under the mess here now. Can I find it?
No. So we're starting well. We're ticking off this list by adding stuff to it.
But these will all be chapters in a book eventually. Offerings. Okay. There is deities and ancestors here, so it would have.
It would definitely come in. Yeah. Think about offerings. It seems to be our oldest religious kind of ritual that we do. Even so much now that they're saying that even because certain think it's chimpanzees. I could be wrong. And I've moved into the Stone Age. They've recognised that they possibly have a language now. That there's the words that repeat. That they seem to in some way actually have words. We don't understand them, but they repeat so often. They seem to know what it is. But they've started they've been seen leaving stones at a tree in a little hollow in a kind of religious type ceremony type thing. Well, we're of course projecting that. That could be just throwing stones into a tree, but it seems it has, if it looks like a duck, it feels like that there's some sort of offering religious thing going on. And of course, elephants are weird. They seem to do very not strange things, but it depends with the elephants. Sometimes you read these amazing things and then you read 2 weeks later, the elephants don't do that. They don't care. You're dead. Elephants don't care. And I think they've forgotten about it already, man.
Horses are like that, man. Some people would say, geez, horses are very smart, aren't they? And I think, do you know what it is? Horses have incredible memory. Right. Unbelievable memory. Like you
just don't care about I remember you. Don't care.
it's like your man with the hippopotamus. This guy in Africa had a pet hippopotamus for 20 years. Fucking loved the hippopotamus. Right. Fucking loves it. Like, was his best mate. Used to bring him everywhere. Used to do stuff together. We went to Paris for weekends. All that kind of stuff. And then one day the hippo just ate him. Just out of nowhere.
Because animals are fucking animals.
That's what fucking hippos do. Like. I don't know how he got away with that for 20 years, but
you do see some of those things on
the horses.
Mm-hmm.
Horses have incredible memory. You can ride one of my horses, and then 20 years later, a horse still alive. He should be 20. He can remember. Not that he will, but he can remember.
Right.
Depending on what you've done. But and they will. Like I've seen this. Like the more I get down there, the more of them are becoming more friendly with me, and they look you in the eye, kind of stuff. That's a sign that they like you or whatever, But as soon as you go into the paddock with your bucket of oats, it's mayhem. Like they'll kick, they'll bite, it's every man for himself kind of thing to get the food first.
Right.
So they're incredibly. I can't say they're smart. Because they just have this amazing memory. But they'll do anything for food.
They refer to instinct too. You see with dogs, when my other dog before she died, like loveliest, gentlest dog in the world, put food beside her. Different dog, my food. How dare you? Yeah. And then after she's eaten food, I'm the loveliest dog in the world. Butter actually wouldn't melt my mouth. Animals. Did you see the video on Reddit this week of the guy being a twit at the lion cage, taunting him, pointing on his head? Yeah, he lost a finger. Of course he did. God's sake.
It's all he lost.
What's wrong with people?
What's wrong? Yeah.
Although you did see the videos as well of this guy raised a lion, from what was a cub, and then had to go away traveling around the Himalayas for 17 years, and he comes back, and the lion still knows him, and the lion does definitely know him.
Yeah.
Anyway, so offerings. The thing about offerings is there's so many different varied opinions on why, who, what, all of these things, or the usefulness of them, or whatever. And I think an awful lot of kind of where we are now is in some way a diluted form of what they probably originally were, in that it was, like the kind of first offerings were, well, I mean, you had the human sacrifice, you had the animal sacrifice, particularly like Leviticus in the Bible itself is like a list of what to sacrifice, what animal to sacrifice for the various different sins. Like, I think it's two doves if you have your period. So like
having a period is a sin.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, in the Old Testament, of course.
I have never sinned.
Yeah, being a woman is a sin in the Old Testament, man. Come on. Huh. But it was kind of, you went down, and even at that point, it was a bit of a money-making scheme because the priest was the only one who could do it. You had to buy the animal.
What's the logic here of having a period being a sin? Is because the egg died?
Because you're unclean.
You weren't fertilized.
Probably, yeah. Just any. But I mean, that's me just pulling out one of those pages of everything.
Women supposed to get pregnant every single fucking month?
From a Catholic church point of view? Yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right. Is that argument solved? Thank you.
But anyway, the whole list, that's the one I pick out because it's, It's shit.
Period.
So you go down, you pay. There'd be people outside the church with the doves, and you buy them, and then you go in and you pay the priest to kill them, to roast them, whatever it is. And seemingly there was this, I had a wonderful or horrible smell, depending on the type of person you are, that would be coming from the church, and it was part of the business. It was part of what you do, you know, this kind of thing.
Nice.
So that seems to already by that point there has been a bit of commercialization brought into it. That it's more, again, there's something between you and the God or the spirit or whatever. Imagine the Christians commercializing things.
We will put a price on Anton. We're useless.
Yeah. But, you know, and then you go back and you talk about the human sacrifices, and the ones that most people think about, of course, is like the South American stuff, which seemingly isn't as bad as I don't know. Sometimes I read it was terrible. Sometimes I read it wasn't. And then you read that people volunteered for it too, and they were given all of these drugs, and it was a great honor. Seemingly in Vikings era, there was a self-sacrifice of a death sacrifice that you would give yourself up for. Again, I don't know how much of this is true because I'm not a scholar in these things. And
the samurai were the last to have it. And they're not that long ago gone.
No, yeah.
What was it called? Harikiri?
Or seppuku. But that was still, a lot of that was that your king told you to do it. It wasn't necessarily that you felt that so you were ordered to as an honor. Not always. And then, of course, you had the World War II pilots doing because they were obviously told to do it too, So, like the original kind of idea, as far as I can gather, is the idea that you would give something of value up in order to get something better. This kind of idea of the very first sacrifice, that you can give up something in the present in order for your future to be much better. And it comes from, let's store the grain rather than eating the grain immediately so that we don't die in the winter. Or, there's this kind of thing of delaying the gratification that extends into a kind of a sacrifice type of thing.
The thing is, though, I think that already when that thought had come into it, I think that had twisted what it had originally been. Yeah. Because the earliest kind of thing we know about sacrifice comes from the Proto-Indo-Europeans, right? So they had their pantheon of I forget his name, Deus Pater, and
Deus Mater.
He was the sky god, and then you had a bit like the Danu figure of the Celtic mythology. Had the morning dawn god,
Okay.
And they had,
Ye olde Lucifer.
Right, yeah. And then there's the divine twins, like the Romulus and Romulus. Is that their name? Yeah. But
the wolf children. Those guys.
Yeah, that's what it was in the Roman stuff. But so the divine twins of the Proto-Indo-Europeans were, as far as I can tell now, I could be wrong here on the names, were Manu and Yemo. Okay. And even though they were twins, they were quite different.
Like two Muppets, don't they?
Yeah. The two lads were Statler and Waldorf. So there's a couple of different versions of the story, but what they were charioteers, and even though they were twins, they were quite different from each other. One was a kind of a more warrior type of dude, and another was a more kind of pencil healer, druidic kind of dude, But their job was they would drive the chariot or chariots that brought the sun across the sky every day.
Okay.
But the two lads fell out, and
of course,
this is one version of the story. So I'll give you the easy story first. The first story is that they had a cow, and they sacrificed the cow, and from the blood of the cow falling on the earth, that's what people, civilization, the world came from, So what you're doing when you're making an offering is you're doing this. You are spilling blood for something.
Yeah.
The other version of it then is that Manu and Yemo, they fell out with each other, and Manu killed Yemo, and what happened is from his entrails, he was digging around. I don't know what the fuck he was looking for, but from that then what's his name came down, Deus Pater came down, and he helped make the world from his twins' remains, and there's stuff like so Manu became the first priest after doing the sacrifice. His brother Yemo turns into the first king as social classes emerge from his anatomy. The priesthood from his head, the warrior class from his breast and arms, and the commoners from his sexual organs. So he came back to life as being this. So you see, this is where the idea of the caste system comes from.
Sure. Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
And so that's my thing with this. That like when you're doing
and that story is echoed in loads of stuff in the Nordic stuff. It's definitely
that's how they can trace it back to the Proto-Indo-Europeans, because they're like, right, this is it. This is here. 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 So obviously it has to come from one central place. So that's my kind of thing with sacrifices, is that like, you know, when we're talking about like, you know, what to give to a god, like tobacco or whiskey or whatever, it's kind of like, you see, when you know that what you're doing is a reenactment of the divine twins killing a cow.
Yeah.
Whiskey don't do it.
but that's depending on if you're doing it for that thing or whether you're doing it for a spirit, which isn't a reenact, you know, is like something that is come after, if you want, from the original thing. So I mean,
but if this is the original of it, this is where it all comes from.
Yeah.
Then it is.
Yeah, but does the spirit know that?
They're older than us, so I presume so.
Well, not necessarily. Like in the same way that you can, you know, like the non-duality thing of it. Oh, we're all one, and the spirits are all one, and blah blah. Why would you bother? Just go to the thing. Is do the spirits know that? Like for their experience of it.
Okay, maybe.
You know, or if they are having a somewhat similar experience to us, where of an individualization or a subjective experience. Again, we can go into whether that exists or not. Then they're going to have their own kind of, you know, wants, needs, etc. That is separate from the thing.
Yeah, I had thought of it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's fair.
So I would say certainly the death sacrifice, the blood sacrifice, and all that seem like an appeasement. That seems like something, because it's such a sacrifice, you know. And it's like, I mean,
no, but listen, this thing with the cow wasn't that.
Right.
It wasn't an appeasement. It was done to make the world.
Yeah, right, okay.
So it's not like us giving tobacco, giving whiskey, whatever, because we're saying, oh, please, can we have something? It's that, no, we killed the cow, and Is it similar then to the Jesus sacrifice thing, then, to take away the sins of the world? Was that sacrifice, as I hit that? Well, it could be.
You know, that kind of similar spirit of it, or whatever, that it's thing. Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, that's it. That's, so did the cow voluntary do it? Like, did it go, yeah, that's grand, lads, away we go. Yeah. I'm happy with my role in this story. Thanks. Yeah, but I suppose you even do hear it like in various different places. You know that even in theosophy and stuff, that you know, there's a world soul that kind of came into existence in order for all of this to happen and all that. That there is some sort of like sacrifice in the sense of not that had to die, but they've given up something in order for this to happen. Which I suppose is another type of kind of bringing it back to the general offering thing, is that one, rather than giving something to the spirits or the god, you would build something, or you do something with your time, you know, again, something that involved you know, the sacrifice was your time, your money, that kind of thing as well. So you're giving something up, which is, you can understand why it went from reenactment to, because what happens when the reenactment didn't work? Okay, you know, and the crops failed, so you have to up it, which is my issue with blood magic in general. It's like, what happens next? What's the next thing you do? How do you up that? It's like you cut your arm off, is it? You know, kill someone? Because it's just too easy to jump to that. Like, what, you know, like, oh, I need to get out of this parking ticket. I'm going to, you know, offer some blood. Yeah, I mean, maybe don't start there. You know? Do
a session for €50.
Pay it. Or whatever. Yeah. Or just don't pay it. This is better than cutting your arm off, or whatever it is, I think. People aren't going to jail for a park. Well, I suppose if it's your 50th parking ticket, you might be going. So yeah, I think it's kind of, from what you were saying, then you can see why humans then, when people are in need and stuff like that, and it doesn't work, how it came up, and then how it became a kind of an appeasement. One thing, you know, well, obviously if it's not happening, the reenactment, we did it wrong. So God, you know, again, this is kind of looking back at people at eras, kind of thinking that we're smarter than maybe, you know, we're not. And, you know, they knew exactly what they were doing or whatever, but it would seem from our kind of vantage point that this is probably a logical kind of a step, in that, you know, when things didn't work. It's like that Irish documentary when, you know, when the sun was disappeared and you couldn't rely on the sun anymore. Hello, moon. It's like let's do the thing. But so you can get where kind of offerings are used now, isn't it? Is a kind of, I suppose, it's a slot machine type thing, isn't it? And I know that's kind of used by a lot of people. It's like going, here's my candle, give me my thing, God. Which it's like. Does that work? I don't. It's never worked for me anyway. Essentially, yeah. So I kind of think that is kind of where it's has become. I suppose the polar end. It's so diluted that you're not even sacrificing anything. You're not giving up anything. It's the opposite thing. It's you're wanting. So even the first kind of dilution that we've made, you're not even doing that kind of thing. But I suppose it's no different. I suppose offerings in many ways for many people though. Like it's a bit like a prayer. It's a bit like a. It's a kind of ribbon on the tree thing. You would say that's an offering, but it's aspirational. It's looking for an intercession. It's a call to something higher.
I suppose it's an acknowledgement of an attempt at intercession, isn't it?
Yeah, or helplessness.
Yeah.
That and like, I mean, for a large part, we are helpless when it comes to the physical stuff or whatever.
But I actually think that's okay, because that's kind of like sigilizing something. You know what I mean? It was ritualizing something, because it's
the ritualization of it. Yeah.
I think that's totally fine.
But there isn't a demand in it though either. It's a petition. If this is possible, this is my wish. Whereas I don't think this is unfair, because it's not always the case. But I, from a lot of people, when they're doing the offering, it's not as an offering. It's as a give me the things. And I don't think hanging the ribbon on it on a tree while it's still give me the thing. There seems to be there's an attitude difference in it. It's coming from a different place. It's a place of have mercy on me rather than give me my money. Which that's unfair, because it's not always the case, and it's definitely not always the case that hanging a ribbon on the tree isn't an attitude thing. Like, come on, I'm angry with your God too. But
no, I know exactly what you mean. I remember reading a book about ancestors and stuff, and it was saying that something to do to kind of thank the ancestors every day is to either set an extra place at your dinner table, or to have another dinner plate with food on it and leave it there. Now, I know you shouldn't really be wasting food, but I certainly see the point of it, because then you are actually sacrificing something.
Yeah. But you can understand then how that turned into, should we just pour a glass of water for them? Because we can't waste food. We don't have the food to waste, or get, I have the food to waste. I don't want to waste the food. And then you go, well, that while it's missing the point, in a sense of it being an actual sacrifice, unless water's scarce as it may become. I can understand it, and then you go, is it the intention then? And then you can kind of go, well, because a lot of the offerings and stuff like that is as a remembrance. Like people go to graves, put on flowers, they light the candles, they go into a church to light a candle, and it's not really that they don't want anything from it. It's a remembrance. It's trying to keep a connection, keep a relationship, and from that kind of point of view, which is what, if you read any of the books, I suppose, in offerings, say from a witchcraft point of view or a spirit bothering point of view, it's about making a connection. It's not about getting the stuff. And so I can see that, I think what I've done, I did with Hecate and stuff like that back in the day, and it was just like, I don't care, that from them, you can give me whatever you want. It's not happening, man. So I mean, again, you have to kind of go in with this. It's like doing a relationship with anyone. Like, if you suddenly turned up at Spud's door with a candle, that's for you, man. Fuck right off, dude. What's your candle?
Is it beeswax?
Yeah.
No.
It's a
what the fuck? How? What? Well, you just wasted 200 quid on a flight. What are you doing?
Yeah. The next day comes up with a bunch of flowers. Man, hay fever. Come on, dude. But I think if there is some sort of...
However, if you do knock, Spud. Weekend in Paris.
Yeah, nice. And this is why it's important to get your offerings right and individualized for God.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. I think. Well, look,
but just to finish my point now. So I think rather than trying to you turn up at someone's door, like it seems to be what I like the idea of Hecate or whatever. That it'd be something more that you could do when you feel there's initially a connection already. Which is, again, you're getting into very woo thing, because like, how do you know that why would Hecate come looking for me, blah 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 blah. I don't know the answer to that, but it seemed that the direction should probably start from the other side rather than you just turning up randomly at a door. And a good place to start with that would be with your local spirits, the genii loci, because there's things that you are constantly interacting with that they do have, in a sense, if they exist, a vested interest in you, not to fuck up the land that you're on, but also to make sure to look after things. So it's in their interest to have a friend in the physical world, if there is that kind of thing. So it's a good place to, that would be less kind of invasive of knocking up at Hecate's door than knocking up at the local, whoever is the local kind of like spirit, whatever it is. And even they mightn't have a name. I've quite like where I am now, which is named after Ferdia, who killed Cuchulainn. That whole thing is Ferdia, but well, it depends on what side you're on. But it's, so that's very masculine, very thing, and it's with the warrior, it's all that kind of stuff or whatever. But the sense I have of it is that it's a female goddess type thing, and and you could have it's because it's Ardi, and then you turn it into Ardonia, and you go, oh well, here, that's something. But that's UPG, and I mean, like, you could be washing them. You have to make an allowance so that you're not just putting your shite on it, but it does feel right, and I will investigate it and see if that goes anywhere, and if it goes anywhere, that would be a sign that you're doing something right. If the blight comes, maybe stop coming up.
See, I think it's mostly time.
Excuse me.
Time that the spirits are after. They want your time. They want you to spend time with them, have a relationship with them. That's what I mean. And I think that good friends don't. Okay, you might give someone something every now and again just as a surprise, but good friends normally don't really buy each other because they don't need it. They're just good friends.
And there is that kind of sense of that, we'll not do birthdays, right? Because that just, I'll be getting something, then you get it. And that's the second tier level of friendship where you don't do it. You kind of, like that kind of, if you're in a relationship where you're doing that, you're kind of, it's still a bit kind of formal or something, that it's like that you feel that you have to do these things, whatever, go through the kind of motions or something like that. And I understand, like, that's not the case with everything, but it's that rune, the Gibo rune, which is I found fascinating, which is I kind of stole a lot of it for the Givo, where in that giving something, it's an exchange, and then you're setting up a contract. If I give you something for your birthday, how awesome am I?
Oh yeah.
What the implication is that now you have to get me
back from my birthday.
Yeah. And it's so the Gibo rune would be saying that it's not, it's a contract what you're doing.
Yeah.
Don't fool yourself into thinking it isn't, And if someone gives you something, they want something.
Yeah. It's one of the rules of Raja Yoga is never accept a gift because exactly this, right, because you're entering a contract where they're giver, you're a receiver, which means you're below.
Yeah.
And no one's below. We're all one.
Yeah. So I mean, from that point of view, an offering, it means you're beholden to the spirit. So there is that element to it, and this is, I suppose, where you get into things like pacts with demons and stuff like that. So it's that kind of an offering where you get what you want, but they get what they want.
Yeah,
and
that always ends well.
That always classically and traditionally has always ended well for people. Yeah, but so there's obviously the danger in that kind of thing. It's like, but Jason Miller talks about it in his I don't know which book it is, but he's talking about the whole idea of that if you get something from a god, you don't have to accept it, just because because you go, well, hold on, I don't like the stipulations around this, I don't like the kind of thing, you're not under obligation to take it. But I suppose sometimes if you've signed a pact in your blood and you're at the crossroads, might be a bit late. And enjoy those 3 songs you get to record.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I learned a lot from that exchange on Discord with people talking about it. I haven't quite changed my mind on it. I'm willing for something to happen for me to change my mind, because this is all experiential.
I think the thing though, I don't want to speak for you because I don't know. But what I kind of thing I got is that you don't go, why would I do this with regards to my HGA? And I think you would. Why would you? It's like in a sense. Well, I know for a fact. What a weird thing to say in a woo conversation. I know for a fact. When I was
I know for an experiential.
I know for something that's definitely not a fact, and I probably will change my mind about it. But because when it was the HEA stuff, and I got a statue, and I was going to paint, and I was going to do the whole thing, and I was like, stop this, stop that immediately.
Shit, like.
That's not this. This is not that. I was going, right, because that was that. So I don't think so. That, well, I mean, I still light candles and I still light incense. There's various different things, but that's, as I've spoken before, and I know you know this, but it comes from the whole fact of that you're in a sense asking the spirit or whatever to become into the incense, and it infuses your room and it becomes a holy place. Same with the light, they become the light or whatever. I like that. I think that's pretty cool, where it's kind of in the same, it's exactly the same as art in the sense that you're taking something from the idea space and manifesting it here. So you're taking the spirit thing, which is equally comes into conjuration as well, where they need this kind of mode of somewhere to manifest in. So if you call up a demon, you have to have the incense so that there's a way for them to appear physically, it gives them a connection to this world or whatever. So that's another kind of reason why you could do an offering, is that it gives them the bridge into, or gives them the energy. If you go, can you I don't know, steal this top hat off Pat for me? I don't know, whatever your magic is. And they go, right, I can do that, but I'll need a sandwich. Okay, because or whatever. I know that's been kind of making light of, but that's, you need either the bridge or the energy or the thing to get through it. But the offerings I make are not to get things. It's to continue a relationship. It's the acknowledgement. It's the equivalent, without it being as morbid, of putting the flowers on the grave. It's that type of stuff where I'm not saying, here's a candle, 50 quid please. And it's an honour and it's a remembrance infusion of the space, that kind of thing. Yeah. But I don't think, but that's just one thing. Morally, I have no objection to people doing it the other way. To go, well, I'm going to give you all these offerings and I want you to give me 50 quid at the end of it.
Morally,
but if it works for you, that's
morally, of course, I don't object to whatever the fuck you want, whatever.
Yeah.
But all I would kind of say on it is that, do you really need it? Like you're I don't know, you do whatever, you pour your whiskey and you give them cigarettes and whatever, tobacco and weed or whatever it is for, I don't know, a new Telecaster guitar. It's like, you have 5.
Yeah, but say I agree with that, but I also don't think I think that's a dysfunction of materialism, though. I think it's okay to have material stuff.
But I think offerings for materialism is just has to be avoided, because you're on the road to hell.
Well, I don't know if I agree with that, because I mean there's spirits and gods and saints and all that are for these things. So it's like, whereas you wouldn't go to say a meditation teacher.
Okay, I'm not explaining it properly now.
Okay.
What I mean is that, there's a thin line between over materialism and having things that you actually need to be a good person. Right?
Sure.
You don't need the 5th guitar to be the best person.
But I don't think most people are doing magic to get the 5th guitar, though, material magic. I think they're doing it to pay the rent. They're doing it to get... I don't know. Well, my experience of talking to people or whatever, most people in the emails we get is, how do I get my boyfriend back? How do I get my wife back? How do I get out of this court case? How do I pay the rent? How do I food? There's like all of that kind of stuff. And
well then if someone was to ask me that, then I would answer, do your offerings to try and find the answer. It's not to get not to receive the $5,000. It's not to get the woman back. It's to find the answer of how to do it. You understand my difference here?
No, I completely. Yeah, and I'm not disagreeing with it, but I'm just saying, what about spirits who are literally just forgetting your stuff?
Careful what you wish for. There's too many stories of shit going wrong, and I'd be scared, frankly. That's why I don't touch any Goetia stuff, because they just frighten the bejesus out of me.
What about but what about say saints that well, technically, or the good guys or whatever? Like say Dexpedite, like he's the guy who gets you this thing, whatever you want, and you do a pound cake. That's the deal. That's what it's known as. That's what you have to do. You bake him a pound cake, you leave it to him, and then you get your thing quickly.
Look, Tommy. Look, it's just me. It's just the spirituality I'm into isn't really material. So
I think it does come down a lot to this thing of that. I think you're into mysticism. You're not really into magic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I think so.
For me, it's theurgy. That's it.
Yeah. But I think offerings fall. The most way offerings are used would fall into magic and not mysticism, and in a sense would not be good mysticism in a sense. Yeah. But I think there's a kind of trap in the whole thing with the materialism, and I'm certainly not saying you're saying this. It's a thing I've seen. Is that people, the opposite side of it is that people think by not wanting the material things they're somehow more holy or spiritual. That's the equal trap of wanting too much stuff.
That's also the ego. I mean, I'm better than this.
It's the given that I'm trying to be a vegan, I can say it. It's the vegan thing of I'm a better person because I'm a vegan. No, you're not. You're just a vegan. That's it.
You just don't eat eggs. You weirdo.
And it's like, but it's like, well, I don't want the material thing, so I'm spiritually clean or better, or whatever. And you go, no, you're also missing the point.
Me.
I know. Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. I know it's not. But it is definitely the kind of.
I am a card carrying swamp donkey, and I know that.
It is the opposite kind of default or dilution of that. Too much materialization, that's the dysfunction. Thinking you're great for not, the aesthetic thing. Now I understand from a kind of what's the word where from the aesthetic thing can be like you're trying to better yourself in a way, like there can be a reason behind it, and it can be a kind of it's the discipline of it, right? I understand it. There's a thing in that, but it's kind of that you're a better person of it. That's the ego thing of it, as well. Yeah. So I think people. I can't say, I'm not saying that's a Jew, but it could easily come across that I'm saying it's Jew because of what we just talked about. Saying that you shouldn't have do magic from material things. That's fine because you have an understanding of it, but not because you think you're better because you're not doing it. Yeah.
Not at all.
That is, but people do fall into that.
No. It's my thing is not to do it for for over. Don't do it for the fifth guitar. Do it for the first guitar. Christ, yes, do it for the first guitar because you might write the best song that's ever been written. You might even win a Eurovision. For example.
But I think you're right. The idea of doing your magic for. It's the bigger thing rather than the guitar, whatever problem you're trying to solve with the guitar. It's the teaching the man to fish thing, isn't it? Like, I mean, I can give you a fish,
there you go.
Or you can, we can learn how to fish. But sometimes you need to fish.
Well,
there's
a good one. Yeah. But there's a good one. It's like, okay, do a sigil or do an offering for a fishing rod, or maybe try and find out where all the best fish are, and then. Which you have very little to worry about.
Yeah, and come back to the goetic stuff as well. Like that, there is particular stuff, demons that are literally for stuff like that. It's like it's not just the money. It's not like Boone or whatever. It's just give me the money, man. I'll deal with you. But they're like I don't know the names because but I know there's ones like that are great for gardening. They're great for for fishing, for hunting, all of that kind of stuff. So it's like I understand it in kind of the analogy of saying you wouldn't go to your HEA to find out to fix your toilet. In the same way you wouldn't go to your guru, your meditation teacher. Can you fix toilets? No. But you go to a plumber, and it's and then you have to pay the plumber and all of that kind of stuff. So I can see the whole thing about it. A lot of it is, I think, for me, is that I kind of have this notion of, which I don't think is correct. I think I kind of hold myself back in that. Almost that if it's for me, it won't pass me, that it'll naturally just occur, that things will kind of spontaneously happen. And for the most part, that seems to work. But there's probably things that I don't go for that could have been useful for me because I'm kind of going, it'll turn up if it's meant to be, rather than going, no, I want that. Give me that. And I think I think a lot of magic is, no, give me that. I'm deciding that that's good for me. Because we feel that, if I decide it's good for me, then it's going to bite me in the arse. Because I'll be punished for that, and that's a Catholic thing. That's
that's what that is. Yeah.
So they're like, I should probably do a load of magic for just frivolous stuff, just to make the point. No, I can have that if I want, and then see what happens after that. But five guitars. How many guitars do I have now? 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5 guitars.
Well, you don't need a 6th. Well, unless, in fairness, unless it has more strings, because then you do.
Yeah. Or better strings.
12 string Rickenbackers.
Yeah, or it's just a different colour, Take
the strings off and paint it.
I did that one with my strat. I just want to make sure we went over this thing. Yeah, there's also this idea of skinriding, which I'm not into at all. I don't want this.
What's that?
So that's that you would say, well, give me the money and I will allow you to, in a sense, kind of possess me while I have sex with my wife. And so that you get the pleasure of having the sex.
Oh my God, that's not consensual at all. For her, but you could say, well, I'll have a wank, whatever. The thing, if you don't, but also like things like, and this comes into like servitor, feeding servitors as well. You can have this kind of thing that when I go to the gym, you can feed off the energy that I give out, or whatever. There's that kind of thing, which I don't know. That seems a bit parasitic or something. I wouldn't. You know what? I can see your father's servitor just pissing himself laughing at that. Yeah, don't do that. Fucking cop yourself on, boy. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah. Yeah, and then there's the final thing, I suppose, is that you do these things, the offerings, all of that. If it's a case that the spirits are somehow empowered by being remembered, like I know we touched on this, but like that, that if they go from human consciousness to disappear, which is how the 40 servants eventually will disappear, because they're built on, and naturally enough, because I think it is the truth, is that they're built on attention and use. So when attention and use stop, they will disappear, as everything disappears. So that it's in their interest to be used and to be acknowledged or whatever. So I think from that point of view, I think it could be well worth a spirit's time to have a candle lit for them.
I think the saint stuff.
You have to put the thing in the newspaper. You have to make a public declaration of it. It's the fame, isn't that what it's called? You increase the fame, or their notoriety. So I can buy that. Yeah. So overall,
I think stuff like that. I'd like stuff like that. All right, but even for me, that would be just. I have this weird thing that I like finding random fucking saints. You know what I mean? Because I just think they're mad interesting. And just giving them on their feast day or something, just praying to them on that day. Trying to do a trance with them or something like that. I think that's fine for them. I think that's all they kind of want. They just want to be said hello to them. I think. Probably wrong, but like it seems to work.
It's like, I think it's the intention is going to make the biggest thing with offerings, isn't it? Are you offering something, wanting something? Then it's not an offering. That's an exchange. Yeah, that's a demand. An exchange. That's it. Yeah. So I think if you are going to do an offering,
if you're going to do an exchange, find the spirit that does the exchange.
That's into it, and at least everyone knows what's going on. That's it's like the Saint Expedite, pound cake, ask him what it is. That's what he does. That's who he is. But if you're going up to whoever Hecate and going, whatever, here's a candle.
Here's some perfume that smells like myrrh, because I read in a book that you like myrrh.
Yeah.
Can I have an orgy now with 3 men in Spain? No. Hecate's like, no, I'm justice. What the fuck? No, get out of here.
Yeah, so I mean, I think your offering should be, your true offering should be a sacrifice, something that you will lose, that you feel a loss to, that you expect nothing back from. I think that's what an offering should be, in the hope that, I don't know, that you're honouring the spirit, that you're increasing the fame, but not for you to get anything out of it. I know there's kind of a sense, I think it was, I don't know where this comes from, but it's in like you praise the gods and you praise, oh, you're so wonderful, here's your offerings, whatever. If by any chance you happen to find 50 quid and throw it my way, that's grand too. ruin the offering just at the end. But the adoration or whatever. But I mean, sometimes, that's easy to say when, you're not getting kicked out of your house tomorrow, you're not going to jail for 20 years, something you didn't do, all of those things. So I mean, it all can change in a matter of moments. And that 6 guitar could be important. It could be very important. We're up to 1 hour 10. Have you time to?
I have time, if you have time.
Yeah, so we were going to watch, we're going to watch a Jodorowsky. We did watch a Jodorowsky film, which is, you introduced Jodorowsky, like for people who don't know. Who is he? What's he about?
Alejandro Jodorowsky is probably the greatest human being that has ever lived. in my humble Spuddy opinion. Jesus, where to start with him? So, he didn't have a great life growing up. He was born of a rape between his mother and father, who were married. And
back in the time when there was no such thing as rape within marriage, too.
In Catholic countries, yeah. Not just Catholic countries, I suppose. But and they were part of a traveling circus for many years, and so he was a clown. And then he got into poetry, became a poet, moved off to the city, became a poet, and then he got into mime, and he studied under the Marcel Marceau, who's like the biggest mime guy ever. And then he got into like surrealist art and theatre and just bonker stuff, where he'd have these plays that would just end up in debauchery, where people would be ripping out like his guts and all that stuff. There'd be blood orgies and all kinds of fucking crazy shit going on. But like his thing wasn't to shock, though. That was the thing. His thing was to try and make you think differently about something, And it's not
absurdism for the sake of absurdism.
There's it's not that.
Absolute meaning behind it.
Everything
and
has
intention
meaning in it. And then he got into films and plays and stuff like that, and then became. What was the first one? El Topo. El Topo was kind of a cult thing. John Lennon saw it, and John Lennon got in touch with his producer and was like, "Yeah, give this man $1 million and let him do whatever the fuck he wants." Yeah. And then like Jodorowsky made The Holy Mountain, which we got a good few a while ago now, probably over a year ago, and that kind of increased his fame and stuff. And then he got mad into the tarot, or maybe he was into the tarot at the time. He ended up redoing the Marseille tarot with not the people who had first published it, but the oldest publisher of it.
Right.
Redid a deck with them and stuff like that. He does these tarot readings on YouTube, which are just fucking fantastic. And
he used to do tarot reading every Tuesday in his local cafe or something, no matter who would come there.
No money, yeah. It's mad. Imagine you just walk into Jodorowsky, I need to go to Paris, Tommie.
You have to go.
Yeah, that's it. And I think I kind of fell in love with him with the psycho magic stuff, psychomagia.
Which is kind of his therapy. Let's say, is it? That would be it.
Yeah. It's fascinating that it always. Yeah, what I really liked about psychomagic was that it's not a therapy that will solve the problem immediately, but it's something that sows the seed and is that. All right. But you do end up having to do something dramatic. I mean, there's the guy in the church, he painted his balls blue and stuff.
Yeah.
And
it's a symbolic act. That's what it's
because he's trying to get into the subconscious, unconscious, and because he's like, his thing is, right, look, your problem's in there, it's all in your head, but that part of your brain doesn't speak language, so it has to be done through symbols and stuff. And so he will give you a ritual to do that is highly symbolic of something, and it will get the motors kind of going in how to resolve it,
Yeah, so again, come back to the left brain, right brain stuff that we were talking about earlier. It's the same. You're trying to affect that other thing, which is come back to, I suppose, even sigils. That's why sigils kind of work, because that's who you're talking to then at that point. You're not talking to that brain, you're talking to the other part of it, which is why you symbolize it. So he has 5 movies, biographical movies planned, of which he has 2 done already. And
really? I didn't know. Yeah. 3 more, yeah. Cool.
Well, he's in his early 90s.
He's 93.
Let's hope he succeeds. I'd say he will. Why wouldn't he?
So.
The first one is The Dance of Reality, and the second was Endless Poetry. And Dance of Reality is his very, as a child, and then the one that we watched for this was the Endless Poetry, which is more for him from a teenager until the point he leaves and goes to France.
Yeah.
So I assume then 3, 4, and 5 is France, Holy Mountain, and then subsequent or something like that. Or maybe it's all going to be kind of childhood stuff. It's really, really good in the sense of that when you watch this, you go, they got some brilliant actors to play Jodorowsky, and then you learn it's his son and his other son. So it's good, the guy who plays him as a young man is his youngest son, and the guy who plays his father is his oldest son. I was watching a review of this just to see what other people were saying. It was some BBC radio program, and they're talking about just how much they hated it.
Really?
But yeah, I was saying that I really, really disliked it. I knew immediately I disliked it, that it's not for me, that I don't like this type of thing. I knew that it was going nowhere, and that it was just, they just seen it as an absurdist piece, as something surreal for the sake of just being weird for weird. It doesn't have any underlying structure. There's no actual reality to it. It's just thing. And I think that's completely wrong. I think there's an absolute The thing that kind of snapped with me or clicked with me is that what I realised that he's been utterly truthful and accurate to the emotion of the scene rather than the reality of the scene, and
Very good. It's a great take. Yeah,
that's what you're seeing. Yeah. So it's where if you were a bystander in any of these scenes, you would probably have seen something maybe completely different, but this is how it felt. So
I'll give you an example. There's this kind of ludicrous mismatch between the father and the mother. Now, there's none of the this is class, right? But there's none of this kind of rape allegation stuff because that's from the biography I read of it.
Yeah, it's not in the first.
No, this is in the film now because it's not the full truth of his life.
No,
it's for a film. But anyway, the dad is this money obsessed man who wears a suit and wears pajamas in bed and all that kind of stuff. He's straight laced. He's almost military-esque, you know. Yeah. And then the mother always sings opera.
Yeah,
always.
Like, that's how they communicate.
Everyone else is talking and she's like, la, 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 I'm making a cake. The cake is nice. Da, 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 da. And then it's like, what? I've written down here, like, does the mother always sing? And she does.
Yeah.
Oh, which the film? I think she only speaks one line, I think. But and he's just showing how, just by that, he's showing that she's this nightingale. She's this angel.
Yeah.
Sings.
That's how he sees her. That's how he sees her.
That's how he sees her.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
And like the father, like I'm sure you know from you're reading Dance to Reality, or did read Dance to Reality, didn't you? Mm-hmm. And like his dad is kind of the cliche epitome of the dysfunctional man up stuff. Not the.
Yeah.
Spud is a great post about the good side of man up stuff or whatever. Put it in the show description. But he's like, there's a horrible scene in the first film. It's not in this one. Is where he brings Alejandro to the dentist and he makes sure that the dentist won't give him the painkiller so that he feels everything. It's you as a man you must feel this. And it really kind of pushes him that you can't have any. You're not allowed to show any emotions because you'll be a word that we're not allowed to say on YouTube. It's you'll be a homosexual, whatever, and that F word, and it's really kind of any display of emotion, any display of femininity, I suppose, as he would see it, is a weakness. And there's a kind of like even then when there's an earthquake, he makes him not cry. And laugh instead. Laugh at this, because, well, you're a man and you laugh in the face of danger. And so Alejandro, in this movie, he gets a book of poetry and it's just, opens his mind and it's just amazing and whatever. But of course, the dad essentially beats it out of him, throws it away, and chastises him for being that type of person. This is not what it is. And horrible, horrible dad. And, but again, I know that person. It's an archetype. It's not. And I think it's more than just a generational thing because that's the previous generation to us. So it's not just you can't just look back and say that was what all our dads were kind of like. But it's like, see, that's an archetype of this dysfunctional dad. This you can't be weak. You can't and be forced.
They're not gone. They're still around, them lads, for sure.
But he portrays it so well in. That scene where there's someone stealing stuff from the shop and he makes the public ashamed of the nudity and the stuff, and you see a very interesting Nazi on stilts, and I thought that's definitely there for a reason. I wonder why. And it echoes the end of the movie, of course, which is when he's losing his mind with the fascists at the end because he's going, what are you doing? Like, and it's the same because all the people in the crowd have these masks on, so they're not individuals. They're just these kind of plain face. It's a crowd, which again echoes the end, the fascist stuff, the end, because that's exactly the same thing. And so it's like again, what I'm saying about it, that's the emotion of the scene, and it's done so well that I was just like going. Watch it going, it's so horrible and so cruel, whatever, but it totally nails it. It nails exactly what that sensation of where he's at the time. And the coffin violin case, Jesus Christ, that was amazing. Where it's the grandmother, is it her? I assume his mother's brother. Would that be right? Who died?
Yeah.
And she's been carrying around his violin case forever, and she's crying and weeping. But it looks like a coffin, and it's gone like. That could be a bit ham-fisted. You go, it's a bit, but it's not. It's perfect. No, that is perfect. And then he's giving it, and he's going, I don't want this shit, I don't want the burden. I don't want I'm getting, I'm throwing this away. I'm not taking this with me. I'm not taking this emotional baggage or whatever. Now, it does happen because he gets slagged off, but it's still that kind of, he puts it in the bin, no thanks, keep it.
There's from reading the biography and then watching this, it's great to see a kind of similar cast of characters. He blends. There's a character in this, Stella, who is his muse, and the big booby lady who gets her boobs out quite a lot.
Yeah, let's beat up people in bars. Brilliant.
she's kind of two characters from the autobiography. I can't remember their names now, but one was this very famous actress in Mexico, and they came together to do these plays and stuff like that, and they ended up falling out with each other. But she was like a master strategist of like celebrity fame before there was such a thing. Like,
right.
She there's some mad tricks she did to him at the start. Like, she brought him home and she wanted to have sex with him, and then she didn't have sex with him at the last minute. But she's like, you make sure and you tell everyone that you had sex with me, but get a cab home and don't and get out early so that no one knows where you live. Like, what? But he does all these things anyway.
Yeah.
And then they have this public kind of breakup about the thing, which just drives, and they end up having 2 different plays at 2 different theaters, and it just drives up interest in this thing, So that's half of her, and then there's this other half of her, another lady in the book as well, who was like a more genuine muse who gave him like oral cleaning and all this kind of massages and stuff like that for ages. So it's interesting to see that, put the two of them together. But it's like, what's cool in it is that you kind of see these different characters that he met through his life who influenced him so much, and it's just and then every one of them is just so overloaded with symbols and symbolism and what they mean, because you're watching and you just go, what's that mean? What's that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? You figure out quite a lot of it because it's in your face.
Yeah.
But then there's other stuff where it's like, I never think you watch this 10 times and you won't get all the meanings of everything,
No.
But it's bad.
And that bit that I loved, because this could be like, you would say, oh, this is very absurdist. This thing is like where he joins up with the poet guy or whatever, the artist guy, anyway, and they decide that they're going to walk in a straight line through the town.
Yeah.
And they're not and it's just great, just brilliant scene. And it's like, it's just I understand why they're doing it, what the whole thing about it, and do it, and they're getting, all the little things to get in trouble, not massively in trouble, but it's a really good thing. And then the next scene is them kind of doing like this art or a play or whatever, which is so good. But it gets a bit more into what you were saying about the, ending up being a bit like a bit debauchery, where they come in and they read out a manifesto. It's a bit kind of KLF-y, in fairness. And then they open up the suitcase and start throwing meat at people. And great line in this: "Fuck off with your meat."
I think I've written down KLF here somewhere. There's so many bloody notes on this thing. It's mad. It's like, there's no point in going through that because we've ruined the film for you. But it's great. Then there's the English lady. She's based on surrealist artist. Look her up. Called
this is the tarot woman. That one.
Carrington, Leonara Carrington. She was half Mexican, half English, and I had never heard of her. Her art's dead.
Right. All right. Cool. So
it is really, really cool. And she taught him loads about the tarot. Yeah. She has mad stuff as well. The first time he met her, she's like, yeah, come on over to the house and we'll talk about stuff. And he's like, okay, cool. And he was nervous because he knew she was a famous surrealist artist at the time. She wasn't a nobody. And he went over to her house and he's sitting there and he's all nervous and he's sweating in his little suit. And she can see he's fucking pissing himself with fear. But she knows who he is because he's started just theatre directing by now and he's making a name for himself. And he's like, I want to learn about the tarot. And she's making a cup of tea. And next thing she just picks at a scab on her leg. Gets a bit of blood from it, puts it in the tea, and says, "Yeah, drink that." And he goes, "What?" Well, this is before AIDS and all that kind of stuff. So he drinks that. Well, yeah, of course, yeah.
Let's go round to Marco's house. Never eat the biscuits. I'm not eating any biscuits in Marco's house.
And then I think he asked her a while later, why did she do this? She's like, "Oh, now we have a contract.
Yes.
Now we have something. Right now, I'm a part of you. And by you doing this, you're part of me, so we will learn better together or stuff like that. You know?
Gibo.
And it's
we may have mentioned this.
Yeah. It's there's
so much. There's so much, but I think you're right in that. Without spoiling it for people, I suppose a life story you can't really spoil. I love the bits where he turns up in it as the old man besides the younger self, and it's kind of like him reliving it in one sense, but from a greater perspective. You know, where there's a point where he's trying to calm him down or whatever about the futility of trying to change people, change his country or whatever, and he's just. It's a wonderfully shot film, and I mean, I'm sure it wasn't a huge budget, but it doesn't look at all like a low budget movie. It looks like everything is pristine. The color correction.
Yeah, well,
great,
just the genius idea of like he shows like the old neighborhood where he moved to when they left the village and moved into the city, and he starts the film with Jodorowsky himself, and he's in this street, and he's like, "Well, this is where we moved to," and it's all run down. It's terrible. And he was like, "Well, this is," but it was all. This was the center of reality, or center of the world when I was a young boy, and now look at it kind of thing. And then suddenly, all these theater hands run on stage and start pulling down these drapes and making it look like it's the 40s, 50s again. And it's like, that's a genius idea.
Brilliant.
Instead of like building a set and trying to not having the money to do it and all that kind of stuff, or even trying to make the place look nice and repaint it.
Or CGI or something.
No, he just gets a whole load of paper and draws.
It looks great. and it looks great. Like, It like, oh man, I the whole thing. There's nothing about this, and even the fact that that it's a psycho magic working that he's doing, that you're in part of this ritual.
Yeah.
The exact thing. It's him doing the kind of symbolic retelling of his life. Where he gets to, in a sense, he doesn't change it, but he's there in the heated moments with himself, explaining why this happened, or trying to get the understanding or the resolution or whatever. Particularly the end, which I'll not.
I'm not spoil it, but it's all about his dad.
Yeah, and that's immensely powerful scene, and I mean. Definitely didn't happen in real life. Yeah.
There's a bit like there's a bit near the end where his house burns or the flat burns down, and the parents are in bits. They're crying, or they find him in the funny milk bar type of pub with all the old men and the penises everywhere.
Yeah,
and he's like
covered in gold.
And they're in bits. They're crying. They've lost everything, all the house, all the money. And they're like, "Where were you? You're off gallivanting, being a poet. You're a fucking loser." And Alejandro's obviously sad, and then he goes back to the house and he's with his what they call it, his group, his troop of mates. One of them's like a Mexican wrestler. Brilliant. And he's just looking up at this, and they're all kind of standing around going, "Oh no, this is terrible." And he just smiles. He's so happy because it's like that part of my life is
over.
Gone.
This is great.
Woo!
Yeah.
My house burned down.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I don't know. It's a 10 out of 10 movie for me. Anyway, I have to say. 10 Jodorowskys out of 10 Jodorowskys. And I don't know how much to talk about it. Well, again, without the spoiling of it, because I mean, I think you could influence people too much in the sense of the symbology. You could make it that if we say it, that then they watch it and go, "Oh yeah, that's what it is." But I think part of it, you have to have your own journey with it too, man.
Yeah. But like, what's so good about it is that it's very relatable, because you see that there was this lad who was a bit lost in the world, didn't know what was going on, wanted to be this. No one else around him wanted to be that, and he ends up just kind of fucking off and fucking around and messing, but trying to find himself.
Yeah. Who he is,
and like that has to be relatable to all of us. Like, it just has to be. And you see his little journey of it over that short space of years. I mean, it goes through from, his student years up to when he leaves
Chile,
South America.
Yeah, I think it's about 10 years. I would say that would it be
probably is
at most. Yeah.
There's none of the stuff about the Zen stuff in it, because he was big into the Zen. His Zen master retired and wanted to pass him on his gown and all, so that would make him a Zen master or something.
Yeah. That's the lineage thing. Maybe that happens later, though, is it?
But no, not in France. That happened to Mexico when he was living in Mexico.
All right, okay.
And he didn't want it. He was like, yeah, no, I don't want that responsibility.
but Mexico does come after this, though, doesn't it? He goes from France back to Mexico to make El Topo. It's not how he ends up there. This is set in Chile, right? Am I right with that? Or Chile, whatever, because it's not where he's from originally.
Huh. No, I thought he went from Chile to Mexico and then Mexico to France. No,
because at the end of this, he leaves to France, doesn't
he? Of course,
it?
no, I'm getting that wrong. Yeah, because he has to come back from France.
Well, so then movie 3 is the Zen movie. Then we have to say,
yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah. The book, the Zen koan. He has a book about Zen koans, which is hilarious, and then a lot of the autobiography is about him and his teacher as well, who just literally just beats the shit out of him all the time with a stick. You know nothing. Kazooie. Is it kazooie to say? Kazoo, whatever the word is to say when they hit you. Yeah, look, I can't say anything bad about it. Like, the film is so good that we're not even talking a lot about.
I know, yeah.
That's how good it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I love Jodorowsky, and I can't have a bad word said about him because there's nothing bad to say about him. Mm. Well, there's the rape thing, which he denies.
Yeah.
But we can talk about that another time.
Yeah. There's always something, isn't it? I mean, can't get past that. Like, no one's pristine, and that's not to justify anything that anyone does. That's not what I'm saying. But it's like, I don't know. I don't know the answer.
I think the rape thing is a language thing, though. Because English isn't great.
Yeah.
It's quite good for a man of his age, but like, he already speaks Spanish and French. I mean, come on, don't be asking for a third language. It's grand. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So it's a movie of him finding himself outside of what he's been told by his parents, and like the finding himself. All of the stuff there where he's kind of getting into all the poetry, the art and all of that is not really, although it could be seen as it's not like trying to do the opposite of what his father is. It is that he is the opposite of what his father is. And so it's not really a reaction rather than an emergence, if you want, out of the kind of cocoon of the home. And then when it burns down, he knows that he's successfully, had the metamorphosis, because his dad says, I don't recognize you anymore. And so, I mean, that's another letting go, that's okay, I don't know who you are. So I finally broken free from you, I haven't been able to impose my will on you.
Yeah. And it's not a rebellion thing, because like a lot of people think that their image is a rebellion on what their parents.
And sometimes it is, obviously. But
of course,
not in this case. But then, the marching scene at the end, that when people are coming through and the fascist thing, that it's kind of, he's so angry, and you can kind of go, why would you do this? Like what? And you go, well, you should come see what the world's like at the minute, man. It's like, I mean, it's just that kind of complete lack of how he is so different from the people that he, at that point that he has to leave. Even his people he loves, because he's like, this is not, I don't like where this is going, the whole thing. Did you watch it? I'm sure you have. Dance Reality.
No, I haven't. No. I thought this is the first one.
The one that's previous. Him. It's the same. It's the dad, the mother, all the same actors, and the young Jodorowsky. Up to literally up to the.
So it's all like the circus years.
Yeah, the circus is in it. Yeah, all that kind of stuff's in it. Yeah, it's pretty good.
There's a bit in this. He meets this clown who used to work for his dad. Remember, he's in a park or something, and a clown comes up to him and he recognizes him. He's like, I used to work for your father. And he says, what did he say here? He meets a guy in the park who used to work with his dad in a circus. The clown is in rags. He says, I know how to fart. The fart jokes are always funny.
Yeah.
Just that, that story of Aid Edison. You know Aid Edison from Boston?
I think so. Oh, yeah.
And Rick Mail and Aid Edison.
Yeah.
So, Jennifer Saunders, he's married to Jennifer Saunders, right? Who's way more famous than him. And one day, Jennifer comes home from acting work. And
from her job.
And Aid and her daughter are in the living room. And the daughter's crying. She says, no, I'm having a bad time. The school was terrible. And Aid is like, well, what the fuck's wrong? Like, she said, someone farted in school. And I laughed. And I got in trouble with the teacher. And she gave me a bollocking. And now I'm in trouble. And I'm in detention. She said, Aid went over to her, sat down, knee to knee, eye to eye. Don't you ever think that farts aren't funny.
I thought he was going to fart up face. Really. Imagine giving it to Ed Edmondson's daughter for laughing at a fart joke. You know, having seen Bottom. Like, man, it's essentially 2 seasons of fart jokes. Check it out. Endless Poetry. Check out the documentary we've done before, Psychomagia. I'll leave all these links in the show description.
We've done Holy Mountain.
When we've done Holy Mountain. The one that we were going to watch originally was The Thief. What was it called? The
Rainbow Thief.
The Rainbow Thief, yeah. It's not a good movie. It's in that he didn't write it. He wasn't allowed to do anything to it. And it's kind of one of those movies where, I didn't like it. Other opinions are available. Where it thinks it's a children's movie, but it's made for adults. You know, so it's all children. It's like watching Oliver Twist, only they're cursing and sex in it. You know, and it's just like, I go, this is very weird. Who's this for? You know, and it seems there's a lot of absurdicism just for the sort of surrealism, just for it's for real.
No,
but I mean,
it's
great, serious cast in it. Yeah.
P. O'Toole, Omar Sharif, and Ali Guinness, isn't it? Is Ali Guinness in it?
I'm not sure. I can't remember if he is or not.
P. O'Toole and Omar Sharif.
Yeah.
I know that.
But it's I don't know. It's just. It's so close to being a good movie that you just kind of go, had he been allowed to do what he wanted to do, I'd say he would have done a good job. Because there's loads of tarot stuff on it. There's, you know, loads of this kind of symbolism. But the acting's terrible in it for 2 amazing people. Like, that's still, like, I mean, obviously you're going to watch it because, you know, it's Jodorowsky, but I would watch his other stuff first. He has what's the one, San Grial? Not San Grial, because that's the Holy Grail.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either. That's meant to be, a lot of people say that's his best film.
You know what it's about? Because it's the 2-line thing, is that a mother with no arms gets her son to be her arms as she murders people.
That's dirty.
That's great, isn't it? Can't wait to see that. That's brilliant. Yeah. Right, so we've spent long enough, an hour and 40 minutes. That's pretty good. So I think we're back now. Are you horse whispering again anytime soon?
I don't know when I'm going. I'm here for the next month anyway, I think.
Right, so we'll try to do the Irish thing until we forget, and we'll try to do the fundamentals thing until we forget, and because that's probably more relatable to people.
Why don't we just say what we're going to do next week?
Right, okay.
We'll do sigils.
Sigils, okay. So if you have any information on sigils, please send them in on a postcard, or we just have a talk around sigils, and then Spud will teach you how to say goodbye in Irish. And if you have any documentaries or movies that we could watch, please do. I've watched a lot of UFO stuff at the minute. There's a couple of good ones actually. That Abrams one is worth watching.
Shit, man, we have the lamb thing. Tell people. That's
tonight, but I suppose by the time most people hear this, it'll be gone. But the ultra terrestrial, I did it again. The ultra testicle hunt is on tonight, 8:30 British Standard Time, which is not GMT. As Spud found out. GMT is...
Who knew? Who the fuck knew that? Why is it different?
GMT is without the hour change thing.
So why don't they just have the hour change in it?
I just get... because...
It's ridiculous. Like, just GMT is GMT all year long instead of just plus an hour.
Yeah, well, it's...
Why?
We have IST, which is even confusing because if you put that into Google, you should get Indian Standard Time. But it's Irish Standard Time. Just stop changing the hour. Everyone. Yeah. It's useless.
Stop it.
Matter anymore. Yeah, so that you need to be part of Marco's Patreon, Jason's Patreon, or my Patreon in order to view it, because it's exclusive, man. It's an exclusive. But it will be put up. We will put the recording up on the main feed anyway after it, so everyone will get to see it. But we're going to talk to the Secret Chiefs, the Inner Circle, the Lamb. Who are we actually talking to? Do we know? Whoever turns up.
I think we're trying to get Lamb.
Right, okay.
That's the idea.
See what he says about the whole thing. Spud has some great questions, so we're going to find out all the answers. Yeah,
it's all kind of Hellier based, like Terry R. Wrist. What the fuck is his game kind of stuff.
Indrid Cold.
Indrid Cold is the one I'm really interested in because
it's the best name in the occult.
It's class. Like, I mean, like the reading. Back to this book. There's kind of suggested in here that like the Third Order might have. Shit, now when's this going? Jason won't have this and this. No, it's kind of suggesting that maybe Indrid Cold fell from the White Brotherhood to become one of the Black Brotherhood, and that's why they fucked them off.
Right.
Basically.
Oh, cool. So
yeah,
get involved for your cult drama. I mean, yeah, it's all happening. Right, good people of the internet, we leave it there, and we'll see you next week with our sigils, our goodbyes, and some sort of documentary. Good to have you back, Spud. I missed you, man.
Aww.
Bye.